Hey guys, welcome back. In the last lecture, we set up the app with Bootstrap 5, custom root page, and user resource with scaffolding. Now, in this lecture, we will be learning and working on how to display Rails forms in Bootstrap model using TurboStream. So, to do this, we need to create a stimulus controller, and we can create this controller in two ways. Either we can create controller manually into our app JavaScript controllers directory, or we can create it using generator. Yes, using generator. Rails 7 provides the generator command to create stimulus controller. So let's create the generator command, and sorry, let's use the generator command to create the stimulus controller. So switch to the terminal, and into the terminal what we need to run, rails g stimulus. Okay, and now we need to provide our stimulus controller name, and that will be rails g stimulus user model. Okay. And why I'm naming this controller as a user model, because this controller is only dedicated for opening the bootstrap model for user resources actions like new action, edit action, and show action. Okay, we will display forms for creating and updating users into the bootstrap model, and we will also display the users detail into the bootstrap model. Okay, so we will use rails g stimulus user model. Okay, now, when you press the enter, this command will create a new user model controller as stimulus into app JavaScript controller. Okay, and you can find that. Okay, so open the app JavaScripts and controllers directory, and here you can see this is the controller. Okay, and it showing you that how you can connect this controller on your browser. So user model, we need to use data controller attribute over DOM elements and provide this value as user model. Okay, and another reason behind taking this name as user model, because suppose if I took or you took the model name as users control sorry, controller name as the users controller, then you might get confused between the controllers and the controller names. Why? Because we have the users controller into our rails as well and into our stimulus as well. Okay, so you will get confused. So just to avoid that name confusion, name this as user model controller, and it serves the its purpose as well. Why? Because we will use this for opening the bootstrap model. Okay, now before touching this controller, first check how we can send request to the new action of users controller in rails using turbo stream. Okay, so there are two ways. Either we can add a format option in the url, or simply use the data controller attribute in the link. Okay, so if you come to the index.html.trb, sorry, it's the home controllers index, we need to open the users index. Okay, so here you can either provide format option. Okay, so here you can do, let's say, format as turbo stream. Okay, this is also a way to use the, or sorry, to send the request for new action as turbo stream. Okay, and the other option will be like this. For example, just copy this and comment this. Okay, so other option would be like this. So remove the format from this link, and what you can do, data controller, just use this in double comma. Okay, and here you can use check controller name, and that is user model. Okay, so these are two ways, but I'm not going to use this syntax. What I will use, data colon, and provide the controller here as a hash key or a key value pair. So controller, and then controller name, sorry, controller name, that is user model. And we will use this way. But before moving further, let's wait for few minutes and talk about the stimulus in very brief. So what is a stimulus? So you can find its detail on the stimulus handbook and its official document as well, and I'm just repeating that definition, that stimulus is a JavaScript framework and it designed to enhance static or server side rendered HTML by connecting JavaScript object to elements on the page using simple annotation. Okay, and it requires the data controller attribute to identify that element or that page that some stimulus controller is rendering there. So we need to add this data controller attribute, and this is must. Okay, and you need to provide this attribute to your html element. Okay, For each such attribute, stimulus look at the attributes value to find a corresponding controller class. Okay, so here you can see what we added, the data controller attribute to the new user link, and now stimulus will find this user model controller into the app javascript's controller, and stimulus will find this controller here. Okay, and then it will connect it to the element. And this is just like the class and id attribute connect html to css, the data attribute connects the html with javascript. And here I mean, for example, if you can see into the index.html, like what we are doing here, that this class is adding this table element to this css class. Okay, similarly, what this controller name is doing, that this controller name is adding or connecting this new user link to the user model stimulus controller, as simple as. Okay, and other than controllers, there are three more concepts in stimulus, that are actions, targets, and values. And we will look at all these concepts over the time and moving forward in the course. And in fact, we are going to take a quick look on the actions into this lecture itself. Okay, now it's time to do some work in the user model controller. Okay, so open it and add a console output command into the connect method. So here you can see that into the user model, when we generated it using the stimulus, we got the connect method. Okay, now what we can do, just write console dot log, and let's say I am connected, and just add few exclamation marks here. And now is to the browser. Okay, and you need to refresh it, but before refreshing, first inspect the element. Okay, in the console you can see that there are no errors. Okay, but if you refresh the browser now, you can see that we are not able to see the console output. So let me check. Oh, you can see that into the user message that I am connected. Okay, it means our stimulus controller has been connected to our DOM element, that is new user. Okay, and what we defined here, we defined, just open this index.html.trv, data controller user model. Connect methods console.log is now appearing here. Okay, so it means our controller is working fine and it is able to connect with the DOM element. Okay, now this is just to verifying that whenever your page is loaded, and stimulus will try to find the data controller name. Okay, on respective element, and once this find, it will get connected. And since we add the data controller attribute on the new user link, so now once you find that your stimulus controller is connected to the DOM element, now we need to initialize it, and at the initialization, we need to set the click action on this new user link. Because once we click on this link, then only we can display the bootstrap model. Okay, so what we need to do here, define the initialize method. So you can simply do initialize. Okay, and in this initialize method, we need to add like this dot element. Here this dot element will refer where we added the stimulus, or where we added the data controller attribute with this controller name. Okay, so this dot element dot set attribute. Okay, and here we will add an action, sorry, a data action attribute. Okay, so you can add data action, and then here click. Okay, and then user model. And now with hash, you need to attach your action name, and your action name would be show model. We will implement this method after that. So show model. Oh, sorry, fix this typo. Show model. Okay, that's it. That means once our controller gets connected, and it is initialized, we are adding a data action attribute to our new user link. Okay, first make it word rep, so it will be fine. Okay, now if you refresh the browser, go to the browser again and refresh it, inspect this link new user, and you can see that, oh, no link, no click action has been added here. So there is a typo mistake, like initialize, just fix this typo. Let me fix this and refresh the page now, and you can see that when you refresh this, you get a data action attribute on your new user link, that is click user model and then show model. Okay, so basically what we are doing in this initialize method is that when stimulus find the element having data controller attribute with same value as its name, we are setting a data action attribute with value as click the, and it means the action to be performed and the controller name and which method to invoke on click. Okay, so now we need to implement the show model method into this stimulus controller. Okay, so switch to the controller again, and into this controller, what we need to do here, like write the method name that is show model, and implement this model. First, what we need to do, we need to prevent the default behavior of element. So just click on it, event dot prevent default, event dot prevent default, and then what we need to do as the next thing, we need to get the URL associated on this element. Okay, like what is the URL? New user path. So it should be like slash new users, or sorry, users new. Okay, so how we can do that? This dot URL equal to this dot element dot get attribute, and this is just like plain JavaScript. Okay, we are not doing any special syntax here. We are just using the plain JavaScript. So get attribute, and here href. If you wish, you can click, sorry, you can see the output on console. So console.log, and you can simply do this dot url. Okay, and you can verify this url's value into the browser console. So go to the browser, refresh the page, and open the console, and when you click on the new user, you will see that it is displaying the browser, sorry, url, that is users. Now remove this console.log because we verified. So now what we need to do, we need to send request to our new action. So how we can do this? So we need to call the fetch API, and we are all familiar with this fetch API. And if you are not familiar with that, then you can find it on JavaScript Mozilla Docs, or you can see my React's playlist to understand that how fetch API will work. Okay, so now we need to pass the URL first here. So we can pass this dot URL, and then we need to set the headers and the body attributes here. So we will only set headers here. So okay, headers, and into this headers we need to send accept type. So we can add accept, and in this accept we just need to provide the format for turbo stream requested templates. Okay, and that will be like for HTML, what we will provide text.html or text.csv, text.pdf. So here what we need to provide, text slash vnd dot turbostream dot html. Okay, and now whenever you send a request as a turbo stream, okay, then you do not need to create your templates like template name.html.trb. What you need to do instead, let's say if you are sending the request as turbo stream to the new action of a controller, then what you need to name your template as new.turbostream.erb, not new.html.erb. Why? Because now we will send the request into the turbo stream format. Now handle the promise here. It says then and response. Okay, and get the response dot text, and again then html turbo dot render stream message, and then pass html to this. Sorry, it's html, not thm. Okay, and this is done. Now it's time to check that whether the request to the new action of the user's controller is coming as turbo stream or not. Okay, so now we need to click on the new user link, and we need to check that whether the request is coming as turbo stream or not. But we need to correct a thing here, that is we need to pass the event argument to this show model attribute. sorry, to the show model method name. Okay, why? Because we just use the event dot prevent default in this method name, and we forget to pass I forget to pass the event attribute to this show model. Okay, so now I need to pass this. Okay, and once I do this, refresh the browser, and let's click on the new user link. Okay, and when you click on this new user link, you can see the error like unknown format in users controller new. That is, new is missing a template for the request format and variant, that is text vnd turbostream.html, and we need to fix that error, and we will do that in the next lecture. Why? But why we are getting that error? Because we have the template like new.html.erb, but what we need to have here, new.turbostream.erb. Okay, and we will learn that concept in the next lecture. Okay, and here we are done with the setting up of stimulus controller for handling requests for new edit and show user in the bootstrap model using turbo. But this is not complete. Now, in the next lecture, we will be working on another stimulus controller for opening the bootstrap model, and we will also work with turbo frame tag. Meanwhile, kindly follow this lecture at your end and let me know if you have any concern or doubt. Stay tuned and let's meet into the next lecture. Till then, Tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.